I want to welcome you to Gresham Elementary School. My name is Dr. Brown, Diedrus Brown. It's spelled D-I-E-D-R-U-S. I've been the principal at Gresham for 10.5 years. Prior to that, I was a counselor here at Gresham for 2 years. And I'm just so glad you're here to hear our story and our plight against this proposed turnaround. And it has been said in the last week that it's being proposed because of declining academic achievement and a probation status of 5 years, actually 6 years. And that is not the reason for this proposed turnaround. It is not the reason for this proposed turnaround. There are many, many, many schools, public schools in our network, which is Network 11, and in other networks in Chicago public schools that have much lower academic achievement. And what's vitally important, there are many, many, many charter schools and AUSL schools whose academic achievement is much lower than Gresham and has been for a considerable amount of time.
Good morning again, teachers and students. We will begin our calm and relaxation exercise. Teachers, please stop all movement in the classroom, and I'll give you a moment to do so. Teachers, please disregard the announcement.
I am really glad that I have this opportunity to speak and talk about the injustice that is proposed for my teachers, staff, students, the parents, guardians, and caregivers, because I have a lot of integrity and been in education for over 30 years. So I must fight for my teachers, for them to be impacted by a turnaround and they lose their positions, and because of declining in academic achievement, that's not fair and it's not the truth. That is not the truth. And my integrity will not allow me to stand by and let that happen. Our children, they come to Gresham, we educate them, we do everything we can for them. The demographics of this community, with 99% of my family's free and reduced lunch, they need caring teachers and staff members, and we have that at Gresham. And I cannot stand by and let that happen, especially when I know the truth. When I became principal, there were approximately 33% of the students meeting or exceeding the state standard on the ISAT exam, which was the high stakes assessment. That percentage has nearly doubled. It's in the upper 50%. Is that a steady decline? I ask anyone. Is that a steady decline? No. And with the chief of schools and the CEO putting that out in the media and telling the parents, guardians, teachers, and students that they are attending a school that is not in their best interest and there's been steady decline, no. I'm not going to stand by that. I'm going to fight it all the way. My teachers, if you want this building, because of all the money that was spent on renovations, 2 elevators, not 1, 2 elevators in an elementary school, and I have 1 handicapped individual that's been here for 20 years. never had a handicap ramp put in, elevator, and 2, it's absurd. It's not about academic achievement, not about probation. It's about money. Right. It's about money. And if CPS wants this building and want to sell it, I can't do anything about that. But don't displace the teachers, the staff, and put the entire community in an uproar. It is unfair. And my integrity is not going to allow me to just let them do this.
We'll fight you.
Look at the facts. Look at the facts. Remember that old television show, Dragnet? Yeah. Just the facts? Look at the statistics. Look at the statistics. And now I have a few parents that I would like to introduce. I have Ms. Clemens, who has a diverse learning student here at Gresham. I have Mr. Farrell, that graduated from Gresham, served in the military, and still has a number of children at Gresham, and he's going to speak, and Mr. George is going to speak, followed by Mr. Anthony. I'm standing here this morning with my LSC, long-term LSC chairperson, who's had children graduate, and he may want to speak following those individuals. Ms. Clemens.
Good morning. I'm very happy that we have an opportunity today to tell our part of the story. I thank also for Dr. Brown being the wonderful administrator that she is, and for Gresham as having the wonderful staff and faculty that they do, and they love our children. For our community to have come out in support of us, for our aldermen to have come out in support of us, for our Action Council members to come out in support of us, for our teachers union, Mrs. Lewis to be here this morning, and all of her representatives prior to today, and for anyone else I missed, I'm sorry, but we have our community church members here, our reverends. We appreciate all of your support, and we need it. Gresham, before I continue on, my name is Ollie. My last name is Clements, and that is spelled O-L-L-I-E. The last name is C-L-E-M-E-N-T-S. I'm a staunch supporter of Gresham Elementary School, the staff, the faculty, the community, and I just so happen to be a grandmother of 2 wonderful little boys that attend Gresham. I love the students here. My grandson's in 2nd grade, my grandson's in 8th grade. I myself, as a profession, I'm an early interventionist. I work with birth to 3 students that have special problems. I help to move them forward onto going to school at the age of 3. And I'm so happy that Gresham here, because one of my grandsons is a diverse learner, has a wonderful program. I've listened to what's been done with Gresham over the past 2 years. I've been actively involved. I was down at Ashland Avenue when we had to protest the closing of our school. They gave us a reprieve, and so we remained open. I second what Dr. Brown has said in regard to what has been done as far as renovations. They were expecting that a charter school would come in here and join us. They put in those 2 elevators. They gave us air conditioning. They gave us a ramp. They gave us a new library. No librarian, but a new library. Okay? We do not have a full-time physical education teacher, but the Board of Education is wanting our kids to be healthy, so they send them out for recess. They don't think we need a teacher here full-time. Also, we don't have a music instructor. We don't have an art instructor. Now, I will tell you that in regard to what's been happening here, I agree also, because I've been here on the spot. I know what's going on. Along with what I'm hearing from the Board of Education, they're wanting to look at the psyche of kids and making sure they're healthy and strong. But on March the 21st, they sent in a barrage of people to separate our children from our staff members, where they felt comfortable, into a huddle to take over our school. Was that necessary? Not at all. There could have been a different way that could have been handled, but it was on the attack. The Board of Education was proactive in their stance, making us reactive in what we needed to do. We do not plan to allow the Board of Education just to take over our school and do a turnover. Our teachers here are fully capable of teaching our children. A number of our teachers are board certified. They have dedication to what the kids are needing to learn. They test them prior to entering their classroom to know what their needs are, and they meet those needs. How do they meet those needs? Through morning tutoring, afternoon tutoring, and that tutoring is not on the child's lunch hour, it's on the teacher's lunch hour. On recess is on the time when the teacher has a break. After school, we have the AS program for the after-school learning, the progressive learning, where we receive tablets if the kids do well. Other communities might receive tablets because that's part of their funding. They have that in their resources. When they decided they wanted to close us down and close other schools, we weren't part of that 50 that eventually received that closure, but we did receive those children that came here. But we did not receive the resources with the kids. My grandson is in 2nd grade. He's in 2nd grade with a wonderful teacher, but 38 children. He's part of that 38, of course, 37 other children. And they thought that was okay to do. That is not okay. If we are given the resources to do what we need to do, to hire the additional teachers we need to hire, then we can make additional efforts forward. Before I finish, I want to talk about the comparisons of our state scoring. For the year 2004 to 2005, we had 58.4%, 2011, 2012, we had 20.7%, an increase of 65% growth. For math, that was for reading. For math, we had, for the same year, 64.6%, and then we had 37.3%, an increase of 38% growth. For science, we had 42%, and then we had 38%, and that was an increase of 9%. And then the composite score for us for 2004 to 2005 was 58.1, 2011 to 2012, 37.7, with an increase of 29.7, and that's a growth rate of 65%. Does that in any way look like we're not progressing here at Gresham? In regard to our school being on probation, once you say that, and the Board of Education had a chance to say that, that's what they wanted to disseminate within the community. You cannot take our school, the community, the heart of the school is a community. As Dr. King indicated, he felt that we needed to have equal rights, we needed to have equal voting rights, equal rights to education, we had to have equal rights into housing, and also employment. And at this time, the Board of Education wants to arbitrarily take our teachers out of our school, take away their employment. We're not going to stand for it. There is not justice with this, and we need your support. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Mr. Farrell.
Good morning, my name is Eddie Farrell. First name E-D-I-E, last name F-E-R-R-E-L-L. I'm a former student of Gresham. I graduated in 1997. I went from Gresham to Whitney Young High School. From there I went to the military, the Marine Corps. I now have 3 children here, a 5th grader, a 2nd grader, and a preschool. Over this time, over the last 2 or 3 years or so, I've been on the local school council. I've seen the budget cuts that come through here on the school improving their science scores. The CPS cut the budget, cut the science teacher out. They cut the art teacher, the music teacher, gym teacher, librarian. Also the parent advocate, which in a neighborhood like this, in a school like this, a parent advocate is very important because the parents need to have someone that they feel is neutral in the situation to help, diffuse any problems or answer any questions. So with CPS making cuts like that, I don't understand how CPS expects Gresham to become more than a level 3 school. In my opinion, CPS is leading the resources from the school in an attempt to make the school fail. But through all of their attempts, the school has continued to progress. And it may not have progressed at a rate that CPS wants to say that it should progress, but you can't deny the facts that the school is progressing. That's number one. Number two, if you take some of these level 1 schools and you give them the same exact resources in the same exact neighborhoods with the same exact students that Gresham has, those schools would have closed 20, 30 years ago. So if CPS wants to put all this money into it to make it a turnaround school, why not put all that money into the school that is currently there that already exists?
That's right.
Give the school
Right.
money so that they can get the resources that they need. Stop trying to delegate it the way that you want it to be delegated and give it to the administration so that they can do their job. Their job is to provide the best learning environment. You can't provide the best learning environment if you're not there to see what type of learning environment it is. I don't see the CEO of CPS coming down into this school ever to see what the school is like, actually like. All they do is sit wherever they sit, they spend the money the way they want to spend the money, and then they try to down all the schools that they are bleeding the resources from. Not only is that not fair, but from a political standpoint, it says exactly where they stand, and they do not stand for our children.
Thank you.
My name is Pastor Clarence George, PASTORCLANCEGEORGE. Good morning to you. First, I'd like to say thank you, Dr. Brown, and thank you to Ms. Karen Lewis for allowing us to stand here. I am very saddened this morning. I am the pastor of 2 outreach ministries in this community. We are prepared and willing to partnership with Gresham School. Dr. Brown is such a great administrator. I remember when she first came to the school, I voted for her to come to the school. I have had 3 sons to graduate from Gresham School and are doing great. I have a daughter that's here now, getting ready to graduate. I have a grandson that's here in 6th grade. I know that he's gonna graduate. Let me say this. My beef is with our mayor,
All right.
with our school board.
Amen.
And let me say this. They say it's about funds. Well, Mr. Mayor, take a pay cut.
That's right.
Ms. Bennett, take a pay cut and put some of the money back into the schools.
Amen. That's right.
You guys make enough.
That's right.
Let me say this. I often love to quote great men and women. And I say to our mayor this morning, you're talking about turnaround? Look at City Hall. It needs turning around.
All right.
Look at some of our city councilmen. They need turning around.
Yes.
Look at our school board. They need turning around. And if you think it's not so, I quote the famous words of the late great Mr. Michael Jackson. Take a look in the mirror.
That's right. All right.
Take a look at yourself. If you want to make the world a better place, that's what you need to do. Take a look at yourself. We will not stand by and see you come in our community, in our ward, in our precinct, and try to take over. We pay your salary.
All right.
You work for us. And Mr. Mayor, Ms. Burt Bennett, I say, in those great words of Mr. Donald Trump, you are fired.
That's right.
You will not see another term. That's what I'm saying. You want to have words with me? I'm available.
Okay. All right.
Good morning. My name is Gwen Herbert. Gwen, G-W-E-N, Herbert, H-E-R-B-E-R-T. I have children here now. I've had children here in the past. And my children have turned out pretty good. I have a doctor, I have a lawyer. You name it, I have it, and they went to Gresham. So evidently, Gresham has not been bad. Can't be bad if it turn out good kids that has accomplished something in the world. Let me ask you this. Up on the north side, how many schools have they turned around? Tell me, why is it the black kids and the Hispanic kids schools, the ones that they're turning around? Are you trying to tell me that only the white schools can produce kids that have a level of education? Well, that must be something wrong, because I see a lot of black people that have accomplished an awful lot. They have went to Gresham and other elementary schools. Let us come to the north side. Let us do a turnaround. Hire the black teachers up north to do their schooling like they want to put over here in Gresham. They want the white teachers to come in Gresham. Let the black teachers go up north and do a turnaround. How far would they get? You wouldn't even allow them in the neighborhood. The police would be right there to escort them out of the neighborhood. When they come over here, oh, they got all the protection in the world. We feel our kids need the same thing. Our kids is entitled to an education. Isn't it said that no child should be left behind? So where does this fit in at? Only up north or in the suburbs? Does it apply to the city kids? You have turned quite a few of our schools around, but it was hush-hush. Nobody really knew what was going on. So we got involved because you're coming here trying to destroy our school. We're not going to stand for it. You have a fight, and we intend to fight to the finish. The Chicago Board Chairperson, Bennett, the mayor, all of them, like the pastor said, they need to go. They're not for us, they're for themselves. They're not for the blacks. The board chairperson is going to have a luncheon or breakfast. Whose money is he using? The school board's money? Is that why we don't have enough money for supplies for our kids? Something is wrong and something needs to be done. And thank you.
That's right.
Good morning, Ms. Lewis, Dr. Brown, Mr. Rader, parents and staff. My name is Anthony Jackson, A-N-T-H-O-N-Y. Last name Jackson, J-A-C-K-S-O-N. I'm a parent of a student. This is my son right here, Gabriel Harris. I'm proud of him. But before I get to that, I want to make a few statements. First, I echo the pastor's words. We're going to come at Rahm Emanuel election time. But we're not going to stop at Rahm Emanuel. We're going to come at the alderman. We're going to come at the state rep. We're going to come at the senator, the congressman, anyone that is opposing our views as parents and a community. If you're not going to be for us, then you're against us. If you're against us, come election time, we're against you. We will vote you out of office. Now, let me tell you something about this wonderful school. My son, when I got him from his mom, he was 2 years old. I kind of get emotional sometimes when I talk about it. But he had an IEP. Found out he was developmentally delayed, and he had a list. I didn't want my child labeled going through school. You know, when they label a child, especially a black child, it follows him. It follows him throughout his life. Started with Miss Kristen. They started working with him and everything. He was getting better. By the time he got to Miss Scott, I love her so much. She's a kindergarten teacher. I went to her, and I was actually in tears. I said, Miss Scott, I don't want my child labeled. She said, Mr. Jackson, you do what I tell you to do, and I take care of it here at school. She said, in a year, or by first grade, he'll be off that IEP. Tell you what, he's off that IEP. He's in the 1st grade. Miss Mingo continued to, where Miss Scott left off. Not only is he off the IEP, he's in this program called the Climbers. That's for kids that shows the ability to go further. Not only is he a climber, he's on the honor roll. Just got a report card again yesterday. He's back on the honor roll. He's continuously staying on the honor roll. He tells me that these teachers don't care. And if they are not capable of teaching our children, I say to get a baby off IEP in less than a year, that's amazing.
Yes.
Another thing, they've taken all the resources from the school. And Gresham is one of the communities that have a very high crime rate. So why are you bleeding the one place where they can find solace? The schools. Why are you bleeding the resources out of it instead of putting resources into it?
Right.
Can anyone tell me? They can't. And then another thing, for them to try to attack our teachers,
Yes.
let me tell you something. See, I feel that parents sometimes have to take responsibility.
Yeah.
Right.
You can bring Harvard professors up in here. Yale, you can go over to England and bring professors over. And they can teach these kids all day. Guess what? The kids are not gonna progress if the parents don't put in the time. So you cannot blame the teachers totally. We have to look at ourselves, as you said, look in the mirror and look at yourself. If you want your child to go somewhere, they say our children are our future, then parents, I'm also calling you out. You have to step up too. And we wouldn't be in this predicament at Gresham. Thank you.
I want to thank all of the parents and guardians that spoke on behalf of Gresham. And of course, I agree with everything you've said. The resources have dwindled. Excuse me. I lost 6 positions last year. Numerous money out of the budget. Yet, we're moving forward. And we're doing a great job with the students. And we teach to the whole child.
Yes.
We teach to the whole child. And like I said before, I had to purchase washing machines and dryers for the school. Because in some of the homes, they don't have that. And I don't want the children stigmatized when they come to school.
Right.
We have toothbrushes, washcloths, and soap that my teachers keep in the room. So a child will start off in the morning like every other child, clean and fresh and ready to learn. That's teaching to the whole child.
Yes.
Will an AUSL, a charter school, do that? No. They have the highest discipline rate in terms of suspensions. And they throw out kids.
Yes.
They throw kids out of school if Mr. Jackson would have went with his child with an IEP. They don't want that. They want kids whose test scores are high. We are more than test scores.
That's right.
Children are more than test scores. I am a product of Chicago Public Schools. I graduated elementary and high school from Chicago Public Schools. I have 4 college degrees. Am I a failure? No. Am I a failure? No. I've been employed with the State Department of Education. I've been a research evaluation specialist for a local board of education. I know statistics. I know facts. It is not about declining enrollment and the capabilities of the administration, the teachers. It is not about that. This proposed closure is about money.
Yes.
And what was spent on this building, they want this building. And at this time, I want to thank Karen Lewis for joining us, and I'm going to introduce her, and I am just so honored that she is here joining the fight, and we're not going to lose.
That's right.
Good morning. Since CPS has developed a portfolio model is a business model, and this is clearly a hostile takeover. One of the problems with AUSL is that they immediately get a huge infusion of resources. When they get this huge infusion of resources, you see a concomitant increase in test scores. However, if you follow AUSL out a little longer, you see a flattening out of test scores, and actually in some schools a decline. Why is that? Because one, a huge number of teachers leaving the AUSL schools. You see, again, attrition rates that are extremely high. What you also see at AUSL is if you were to take AUSL schools and put them together as a network, they would come in dead last in the test score component. But they would come in first in suspensions and expulsions of children. Let's be very clear. They also do not take the schools at the very bottom of the test score range because it's harder to push those schools and they cannot get good results. AUSL is very keenly aware of what schools are on upward trajectories. And those are the schools that they go after so that they can take the credit for the hard work that's been done by the AUSL has a program in which it trains teachers. They have to have a certain number of schools to place their graduates. Do not think for 1 minute that this is about the children. This is about adult interests and the people who benefit politically and economically from them. So let us not forget AUSL. The board chair, the board president, David Vitale, has ties to AUSL. The chief administrative officer, Mr. Tim Colley, have ties to AUSL. They are absolutely important people involved in this process. So I want us all to remember, AUSL, there are no silver bullets. There are no silver bullets. And AUSL has been at the forefront of conditioning children, punishing children. They are a punitive force. You can't run through the hallways, you have to be quiet, you have to have silent lunches. There are all these kinds of things. But what they do is schools that have been recently renovated are always a target for AUSL.
Yes, yes.
And we'll take any questions.
Ms. Lewis, we saw this happen. Well, we've been seeing it go on almost a decade now. With Diet High School, same situation. They had a brand new gymnasium put in that the school board didn't even have to pay for because ESPN didn't inform. They ended up losing the school. What is it going to take for the citizens of Chicago to stop this? Because it will take the citizens to stop this.
Certainly. I think that's an excellent question. I think that it is clear that we need an elected representative school board.
That's right.
That is actually accountable to the citizens of Chicago. The school board right now is not accountable, and the decisions that they make are basically extremely political. And unfortunately, unless we all come forth and say this is not only what we want, it's what we need. But the fact is, we have no appeal process to any of the decisions that are made by the Board of Education. We have tried to go to Springfield. They've said, you know what, we do not want to micromanage CPS. So the real problem is we need to demand and have that an elected representative school board. I can guarantee you that if that is on the ballot in Cook County, in the city of Chicago, you will be amazed at the number of voters who will come to the polls.
And why was that not put on the ballot in this election? Push it forward.
Yeah, from what I understand, there were some political shenanigans done around that. So, you know how this is still Chicago. Yes.
Can you tell us, are all charters bad? I mean, because I'm just trying to imagine what they're going to say. and they're going, I'm assuming they're going to say, but look at the progress that charters have made. Are all charters a no to you?
So the problem is that AUSL are not charters. AUSL are contract schools, and as a matter of fact, the teachers are members of Chicago Teachers Union at AUSL schools. So it's not that. The charter piece is actually a very, very different story. And quite frankly, it's not about charters being good or bad. It's about how accountable they are to the taxpayers that actually fund charter schools. So this is more about accountability. But the issues are, if you can't continue to change how you evaluate and how you punish people. So if you're looking at charter schools, once again, they do not perform. They haven't done what they said they could do, which is to outperform traditional public schools and do it cheaply and do it without any kind of autonomy. So the issue is how do they perform? And the newspapers have broken that information just recently. So this has nothing to do with us.
And are you concerned at all about CTU getting involved with this particular protest? Because we may hear from the other side that because CTU is involved, it's political from this point of view. Just why do you feel
these are our members that will be on the street. That's why we're here. Our members will be on the street. We have seen that when AUSL comes into schools, that we have our teachers who have had more than 15 years of experience have a very difficult time finding other positions. There is huge discrimination against teachers that are veteran, and that is even more exacerbated if they happen to be Black or Latino. So the big problem that we have is that these are our members who are being put in the street. And we can't just pretend that this is not happening.
And what can you say to, just to follow up to that, teachers that have experience in communities like Gresham that we're talking about, what difference does it make? Would it be helpful perhaps to have someone come in with fresh eyes? What difference does it make to have somebody who knows the kids and knows the community?
Well, the problem is that having fresh eyes does not give you, does not really help. Because after a while, I'm sorry, after a while, again, we see this flattening out of scores. So if you're using scores as your benchmark, then what you can honestly talk about is that doesn't matter. So the issue becomes also, what is it that we're telling our own students in our communities about who is worthy to teach them?
That's right.
I mean, I think we need to have some real honest conversation about that too.
Yeah.
I have a question for Dr. Brown.
Go ahead.
Dr. Brown,
Yes.
you've been very critical of the school district as far as them misleading the public about their intent of why they want to take the school. Have you at all reached out to Dr. Bennett, or has she reached out to you since you went public with your concerns about the turnaround?
No, I have not been in contact with Dr. Bird.
Do you mind just stepping a little closer so we can all hear you on the microphone? Thank you.
In response to your question, have I been in contact with Dr. Bird Bennett? The answer is no.
Okay.
I'm just, I don't know, my integrity will, and I mentioned that earlier. I knew that plans were being made about Gresham only because Dr. Bird Bennett, when she informed me that we would not be a co-location school, I know it was in her mind, what are we going to do with Gresham School now? Because she thought out loud.
Okay.
And I told my parents and guardians, I heard that when I was called out of my meeting. I was in a principal's meeting. And when she personally informed me last year that the charter was not going to move in, she thought out loud. And I heard that. I listened very well. And she said, but now, this is a quote, but now we have to figure out what we're going to do with that building. unquote. And I heard that.
Would you like to meet with her before the school board votes on it? Would you like to sit down and have a conversation
I would
with her?
love to sit down and have a conversation with her, with the board president, because this fight is for my teachers, my students. It's not for me. You can see I'm not 30 years old. I might be 40. However, I'm not 30 years old. I've been in education for a long time. It is for my teachers here, and like Ms. Lewis said, they discriminate when they hire. My older teachers, they will have a hard time finding a job.
Especially due to school-based budgeting,
Yes.
now that the...
Yes, and we as principals are told, you hire younger teachers. That would give you more money in your budget. However, these teachers do not have the experience. It's more problems for the children because they cannot manage the classroom. And where's the equity in that? My teachers, if you want this building, and it's about money, economics, find my teachers a job. And that is what I would say to Dr. Bird Bennett and Mr. Vitale. Don't camouflage it as declining academic achievement. Call it what it is and find them a job.
You have 2 years left on your where you going to go from here? I'm sorry, last question. Where are you going to go from here, Dr. Brown? I know you have 2 years left on your contract. If the school is a turnaround, if you're not rehired as the principal, where does Dr. Brown go?
You know, it's bigger than that. I'm a bigger person than that. I don't fear anything but God. I don't fear anyone but God. I am a Christian person and have been since my younger days. I don't fear, and it's about other people and my students and my teachers. It's not about me. I'm not afraid for myself. I'm a very capable person. I will be fine. I will be fine. So I'm not worried about me. But I would love the opportunity to sit down with Dr. Bird Bennett and Mr. Vitale and anyone else to discuss my point. And I will say the same thing. I've said the same thing over and over again. Don't lie. Where is your integrity? And what are we teaching our children? What are we teaching them? They can read. My children can read. They know math. They could see it's been an upward trend. It's not a steady decline. They could read. Tell the truth. Tell the truth. And that's what I would say.
So we're going to take one more question, and then we're going to...
Dr. Brown, I wonder why you decided to speak out, and because this is unusual. Usually principals don't speak out, and they in the last year haven't, and have been told not to. And I'm wondering if anybody's told you not to.
Did anybody tell me? Excuse me, my parents, my mother and father raised me. Amen. I was fortunate enough to be in a home with a mother and father, and they taught me integrity. And one thing, my father is still living. He's almost 90 years old. And if he was here, he would say the same thing. It's bigger than you, Diedrus. It is bigger than you. You fight in your heart for what is right. And what is right will make you strong. And I am going to fight for my teachers and my students. That's what it's about. That's what it's about.
Don't let nobody turn